Thank you for that warm introduction. And yes, it was quite a mission getting here, but very glad to be here and very thankful for the opportunity to share the afternoon with you. And sharing it on a topic that I'm super passionate about. Obviously, Matt just recounted the topic there, unlocking sustainable growth through strategic workforce solutions. And it's that workforce piece which I get to nerd out about. I love diving into workforces and seeing what opportunities there are to re-engineer and explore efficiency. And I suppose to understand that obsession, it's worthy of noting some of the backstory of how People Partners came to be about. And it actually started just over 10 years ago when my life changed dramatically from a newsletter. I'm not sure how many people can say their life changed by a newsletter, but mine did, because it stated in the top left there, in September 2014, I received an email from the Queensland Government. Myself and business partner Anthony, who I think a few of you met last month, we were running a large RTO, Registered Training Organisation, up in Queensland. And we had several thousand students, about 75 staff, 30 fleet vehicles, 3-storey office. And we got this newsletter. One of the lines there's, hey, you're supposed to check the price list pretty regularly. It's an online spreadsheet. Of course, no one does that. Little thing circled down the bottom and highlighted in yellow. By the way, and this came out in the middle of September, we changed the pricing on the 22nd of August. So about 3 weeks earlier, before they sent this newsletter, they'd changed the pricing and just hadn't sent out a notification. They're sort of saying, hey, you should have just checked automatically. So initially when I saw this, I was actually quite excited because often what they did annually was apply a CPI increase. So I thought, oh, fantastic, I get a chance to update my budgets, bump pricing by 3 or 4%, because obviously we were doing a lot of our training that was subject to government funding. And so we would do the training and get paid by the government. But I clicked through the price list and I still have this vivid memory of sitting in my office and that sort of metallic taste coming into my mouth because I immediately saw that they'd cut the pricing by 70%. And I looked out from my office, looking over the 30-odd cars and hearing my staff buzz around the office, and I instantly knew we weren't going to survive. We could not operate that business under 70% less revenue. It just wasn't feasible. It wasn't possible. I remember calling Anthony into the office and we sat there in pretty dumbfounded silence, just at our wits' end. We'd spent years and years and years investing all of our energy in growing this business, and seemingly in the click of a finger, we were going to lose it all. This was an extinction level of event, imminent liquidation, bankruptcy probably to ensue. But over the upcoming days, Anthony and I steeled ourselves to figure out what can we do? Okay, if this isn't an extinction level event, what could we do? Now, this photo was taken 13 weeks later. So we got that news halfway through September, and 13 weeks later, you can see me and Anthony with his arm around me in the back. We stood in the middle of Manila in a business precinct there after the end of the first week of onboarding 35 new staff. Because after we'd got through the dumbfounded silence and over those upcoming days and week, we had crafted a plan. And that plan involved relocating our office from Brisbane to Manila in the Philippines. And it was an insane plan, but we were facing extraordinary risks. We weren't going to survive. So we felt with backs to the wall, we had to try something completely outlandish. And so the very next week, in September, I flew to the Philippines, figured out how to incorporate a company, couldn't find office space to rent, so I ended up having to buy real estate, commission architects to fit out the office, and went through all that complexity of trying to figure out how to do business in a whole new country. And then I came back to Anthony and said, listen, this isn't going to work if we just look at our incumbent org chart and say, hey, which roles can we move offshore? Because what, we're going to come up with 8 to 10? That's not going to make a material enough difference to offset the 70% reduction in revenue. So what we did was, we looked at every single one of those 73 roles on our org chart and said, okay, some of them we can do 100% of these tasks and responsibilities offshore. But some of these other roles, we could do 10%, we could do 20%, we could do 80%. And so what we did was we re-engineered every single role in our org chart to figure out what percentage of the workload that we could move offshore. That culminated in 35 new roles being made up, essentially. We stitched together all manner of tasks and responsibilities, made up a title for it, and we onboarded these 35 new people. On the 2nd of January in 2015, I moved to the Philippines. I wasn't single. I had a wife with 2 boys who followed 2 weeks later, and my wife still resents the fact she had to pack up the house. Probably almost as much as she's resenting right now being stranded in Kingscliff with cyclone sort of coming down on her. Hopefully I won't have to pay the same debt that I did for that, where she had to pack up and move by herself. So I made the commitment to lead this transformation and move to the Philippines. What was meant to be 12 months turned into 2 years, and that's a whole other story. But those inaugural few weeks and months were brutal. Insanely long hours, taking 35 people who'd not worked for Australian business before, certainly not a small to medium, had not worked in the industry before, had not worked in these roles before, and furthermore, we'd had no one in these roles before. These were made-up roles. We'd stitched together tasks and responsibilities to make up these roles. We didn't have the established sort of handover that we could do for these roles. So it was a brutally hard period. But we got to June 2015. And in June 2015, our business had its most profitable month ever. And Anthony and I reflected on that and thought, first thing we think was, shit, why didn't we do this 2 years earlier when we had 70% more money? Imagine the money we could have made. We would have been absolutely minting it. But beyond that, there was 2 key things we recognised. The first of which, it was the workforce re-engineering paired with the global staffing that had helped us produce an exponential effect in saving, and not only saving, but helping our business thrive. The other thing we realised, that the bloodbath that we'd gone through over those ensuing months, we wanted to make that easier for other small to medium businesses. We didn't want them to have to relocate their families, figuring out how to incorporate, unpacking labour laws in a strange country. We wanted to make it easier for other small to medium business owners just like us to sort of stand on our shoulders and be able to access that benefit as well. So for the last 10 years, we've spent educating and helping hundreds and hundreds of businesses across Asia Pacific and now North America in re-engineering their workforce and plugging in global staffing where it fits to make a transformative difference in their business. And the process we go through is really helping them understand what it is, why they might do it, and specifically how to do it. And that's exactly what I wanted to share with you this afternoon. I realise I'm putting the wrong way. Oh, you're going to have to do maths, but I've revealed the answers, I think. I've plugged ahead. But I wanted to just drill in on the impact that it can make and why it's an exponential impact. Because we can see here in a basic scenario, if a business spends $500,000 in labour to produce $700,000 in revenue, maybe this is a department or a small business, the labour percentage is obviously 71%. Now, if we undertake a pathway of re-engineering, and we're going to dive into this, so just go with me for the moment, and we manage to double the productivity of that workforce, we're now spending $250,000 to produce that same $700,000 of revenue. And not surprisingly, that obviously halves our labour percentage. So it's at 36%. But then there's the opportunity of plugging in not just the workforce re-engineering plus the global staffing. And obviously where the global staffing plugs in normally around a 70% labour saving to Australian wages, following those maths through, that would equate to only spending $75,000 to produce that $700,000 in revenue. And that's where we're starting to enjoy this exponential effect, because at $75,000, that's only representing 11% as a labour figure. Vicky shared before that labour in a lot of service businesses is obviously our largest expense. And so as we're approaching value, of course, labour needs to be really strongly evaluated. Because as it shares here, and this is where the exponentials plug in, if we collapse our labour from 71% to 11%, that's an 85% reduction. Or if we inverse it and just look at the gross margin and say, hey, we were making $200,000 before we started, but now we're making $625,000, that's a 213% increase in gross margin. So these are game-changing changes that we can make to level up the value of our business, let alone the operational profitability of our business. So to dig in a little bit further and just echo this point, and I'm picking on Doge, that's the little doggy thing there you can see. How crazy has it been over the last, whatever it's been, 40 odd days, to see all of the insanity coming out of the Department of Government Efficiency in the US? But I think probably unlike any time in history, we've got this massive big spotlight on efficiency, which in a normal course of the news media, let alone the business news media, doesn't get a lot of attention. We tend to obsess over growth. And I think that was something I just wanted to echo in today. If we, again, were to play with some numbers around how a business might approach growth. So if a business was turning over $1 million, Dana's running their annual meeting on EOS. We run on EOS, we're big fans. Dana's running it, and the leadership team say, hey, in 2026, we want to achieve a 20% growth. And so the leadership team plan all manner of strategy. The marketing and sales team develop all manner of marketing strategy. Perhaps they onboard some extra headcount and therefore increase the complexity for the leadership in managing that extra headcount. They figure out that they need to launch some TikTok campaigns and need to figure out how to work on TikTok and YouTube. Operations have to figure out how they're going to scale up to get that extra 20% of growth. We have this massive, huge amount of leadership energy, time, resource, money invested in realising that growth. And they achieve it. So they get their 20% growth, and obviously that moves the dial on their top line revenue to $1.2 million. But what's the net impact? And I think I was ChatGPTing this morning. I said, hey, ChatGPT, what is the average net profit margins of businesses in Victoria? And it was a very long-winded answer, basically saying, hey, the data points are hard to measure, but probably somewhere in and around 15%. Probably Vicky's probably got better numbers, but ChatGPT said 15%. So if a business is profiting 15% at the $1 million mark, they're obviously making, their profit position is $150,000. Now, for all of that effort and energy the leadership team have put into achieving and realising this growth, if they were to just maintain the margin, 15% at 1.2 million is 180,000. And so for that year of effort, that massive investment in marketing, potentially extra headcount, extra complexity in leadership, the business increases their net profits by 30,000. And the point I wanted to raise here is that I'm pretty sure pretty much everyone in this room can probably save more than that profit from 20% growth, because it's almost impossible to outgrow inefficiency. And I think that's sort of the key takeaway of what's going on in this crazy Department of Government Efficiency. And I'm not proposing we only look at efficiency, of course that's crazy, but it's having a weighting with looking at efficiency to some level of measure. So we're not exclusively looking at growth, because both are important. And I think, again, to distill that one key takeaway, Vicky had one from her presentation. My hope is that you will leave and think, hey, as a business, we need to have at least one eye on efficiency. So maybe we don't have a DOGE, we now have a DOBE, a Department of Business Efficiency. And maybe it's you. Maybe you're the CEO of the Department of Business Efficiency. And it's keeping an eye on how do we become more efficient as a business, and how, whether it be through IDSing and stitching together all manner of solving issues to create all manner of new to-dos, and we're adding more complexity, how do we unpack some of that to make sure that our business is running as efficient as it possibly can be? To drill this home and with your new CEO of Department of Business Efficiency, I wanted to challenge you and step through a process of how we might approach workforce re-engineering. And of course, you know, we could go and we could do a little SWOT on each of your org charts right now, but obviously that would take multiple days. So I'm going to get you to channel your CEO or maybe head of sales of this small department. And I'm charging you with being the Department of Business Efficiency and how we're going to look at reviewing this department. So this department is a field sales department. It's got 5 BDMs, so 5 business development managers. Those business development managers are field-based, so they're buzzing around in cars. We've got 5 cars, and they're all buzzing around, and they're prosecuting the sales for your department, all of the sales. So they're calling on new business, they're doing account management, they're sending out proposals, they're chasing up clients for signing off on those proposals, they're doing their own appointment setting, they're entering stuff into the CRM. They're doing everything that's required for your business to help prosecute new business and existing business. But what I want to challenge you right now is to look at and contemplate yourselves, and we're going to pop up Menti, is available for this as well, to think about what tasks and responsibilities that field-based BDM is doing that they probably shouldn't be, because they don't love it, they hate it in fact in a lot of instances, they're not good at it, and they're super inefficient at it. Some other ways I'd like you to think about this while you're entering those in. Is it an inside task or is it an outside task? And from that, what I mean is it being done in front of a computer on a phone, or is it requiring that car to buzz around and have coffee with the client and visit them in situ? We've covered the love versus hate. Is it an interpersonal task, i.e., I'm here with you, I'm present, I'm communicating with you? Because how good are our salespeople at being interpersonal? They're normally pretty amazing at that. However, stick a spreadsheet in front of them, oh my goodness, not good normally, because it's a detailed task. Is it customer versus non-customer? And sometimes, does it involve a different tech stack? Sometimes we ask our staff to learn 6 different software platforms and we wonder why they struggle, and we wonder why it takes so long to onboard them. Sometimes it's easier to differentiate some roles by the software stack they're using. So we've got some really good tasks here that are flowing in. So our sense is that our field-based BDMs are not good at data entry. They're not good at admin. They probably shouldn't be writing our proposals, probably shouldn't be making phone calls, shouldn't be doing reporting. Quoting involves a fair bit of detailed work. It's probably not them. And so we're getting here a list of tasks that they're not good at. So what I'd like you to do is to bank these tasks, and now what I'd like you to think of is what role could you make up now, make up 1 or 2, that you could rebundle some of those tasks and responsibilities into to take the pressure off your BDM. So I'd like you to come up with 1 or 2 roles that we could bundle together. So think of some of the data entry, the proposals, the phone calls. What could we call that role that would work in conjunction with our BDM to help prosecute the sales for your field sales team that you're running. We've got some great options here. Sales support, sales operations, inside sales, personal assistant, sales admin, business assistant, team coordinator, admin. Some great suggestions. Because what we're looking at is inside roles typically that are going to help lift the pressure off the BDM and allow them to thrive and be more productive. Just some thoughts I had on that same construct. One BDM buzzing around in car, supported by a sales coordinator who owns their diary. Nothing goes in or out without going through that person. Owns their inbox, sends out all proposals, follows up all proposals, confirms all appointments, does all the CRM hygiene, everything that's entered into the CRM goes through that sales coordinator. I've got a lead gen person in this role. I don't want them driving around blindly, wasting time, money, fuel. I want them going to a minimum of 4 to 5 appointments per day because it's booked in their diary, the sales coordinator's confirmed it, and that's what they're going to focus on. And I want them focusing on new business exclusively because account management is fundamentally maintaining a relationship, and I'm satisfied I can do that inside. An account manager can phone them. I don't need someone buzzing around. Workforce re-engineering, and because of those 3 now inside roles, we can now tap in the benefit of global staffing. And that is just a really micro example of the exponential effect we can help generate. I've seen this time and time again, not just in field sales, I've seen it in healthcare, I've seen it all manner of areas where the opportunity to collapse the structure of a team to produce more output is exponential. So just in summarising, really challenge you, how much could you save and boost profits by exploring your own department of business efficiency? And to not choose, of course, Department of Business Efficiency over growth, have both. And then within your Department of Business Efficiency, again, look at the workforce re-engineering piece, but also look at plugging in the global staffing. So again, have both. Don't just have your dabbling in your global staffing. Through doing the workforce re-engineering and pairing it, you can enjoy that exponential effect. The final comment I'll make is because typically when I do a presentation or I'm speaking with clients who are looking at this, they're worried about their incumbent workforce. And my experience is time and time again, staff who love and are great at their role produce better results and stay. They're retained in their business. They stay for longer because they're not having to do the CRM hygiene anymore. They're not having to do the proposal. They're not having to do all the cold calling. They have a job they love and are great at. And that's absolutely amazing for retention. I'm big on LinkedIn. So if anyone would like to stay in touch, please join me on LinkedIn. I'm just like yourselves. I'm a small to medium business looking to try and conquer the world, and I share my journey and what I'm getting up to and what we're trying in our business and the fun adventures that we get up to. So please join me. But other than that, I'd love to turn it over. Have we got a minute or two for questions?
Yes, questions.
Excellent.
I just find with putting the workforce to growth, then you've got all these IT security issues and your information's out there, and how do you assess that sort of risk, and how did you did you face that sort of a challenge? And
Absolutely, and it's a challenge for we've got clients from nuclear energy right through to heaps in the financial sector, and for all of them, data security is an issue. So certainly cybersecurity and our investment in that is massive, and data provenance is the key thing. So a huge part of that is where the data is hosted, and making sure that all hardware is being controlled so that things can't be saved on local hard drives, USBs, all that sort of thing. So it comes down to prudent planning, and that's something that we do with all clients, and as I said, not the least of which is in the really highly regulated. I mean, financial services is probably at the top end, And we're very fortunate to work with a lot of financial institutions, mortgage brokers, lenders, private lenders. We're making sure the regulations are being followed is really important. Had a question at the back. Yes.
That was great. If you had to do the move over to the Philippines and
Yes.
set that up again, what's the one thing that you'd do differently, other than maybe getting some help for your wife to pick up?
Good point. I would absolutely do that. What would I do differently if I was to move again? I think, I'd live in a very different location. That would be the number one thing. Manila has got some of the worst traffic in the world, and I thought it was so convenient setting up super close to our office so I could walk to work every day, and I condemned my family to living in a business precinct which had no green spaces, no parks. I had 2 boys. One of my boys was 5, one of them was 8. And you can imagine 2 rambunctious, energetic boys in a concrete jungle didn't go down so well. So I would live in a different location. But in terms of some of the professional stuff, I probably would have liked more time in planning, not just the re-engineering of the roles. That was something we had to do, but really, really fleshing out the playbooks and processes. We say process is king. We were probably 80% because of the time compress. Like as I said, that newsletter to that photo was 13 weeks. At 13 weeks, we were already first week into the orientation. So we had 3 months to uproot. If I had more time, I would have spent more time on planning my processes, planning my playbooks, so I could really amazingly onboard those staff. They knew exactly what they're here to do, exactly what processes they're following. Everything's documented. I've got great, amazing screen share videos of every single thing. Thank you. Kim.
The retention of staff in these global places, does it comparative to?
Yeah, absolutely. And retention is key wherever your staff are, is my experience. And I think it's exactly the same, whether we've got offices in Philippines and South Africa, and it's exactly the same drivers. So is the work stimulating? Are they feeling included and part of the team? Are they involved in your rhythm of meetings, whether it be your weekly L10s, whether it be your quarterly workshops? What is your rhythm? How much can you plug in? How much do they feel that part of the team? We always like to suggest that we want the staff that we engage for our clients to say they work for the client, not for people partners. Yes, we're their employer of record, but we want them to fly the flag and be brand ambassadors to pursue the vision, the mission, the goals, and live the values of the client. And then obviously, there's a lot of stuff we do on the ground, from team building, activities once a month, Christmas parties, meal deliveries, birthday presents, all that sort of softer side we try and plug in to, again, make them feel fulfilled, happy and content staff so that they've got that best chance of longevity, because that's good for everyone. We don't want to invest, whether it be onshore or offshore, in staff where it's a revolving door every 3 to 6 months. We want to invest and get that ROI through really long, stable, secure tenure. Yes. Thank you.
I had the opportunity to work with a company where I was arranging.
Yes.
The biggest benefit we have is time.
Yes.
How does that factor in?
Yeah, it can absolutely. So people can leverage it, because obviously in a lot of those developing economies, they're running on a 24/7 sort of work clock. Most popular work time zone in the Philippines is actually the US time zone, which is overnight over there. So typically staff will follow the hours of their client. So if they're working 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 Melbourne, they'll match that. However, some clients choose to say, hey, no, I want them to go 10 till 7 so they can wrap up the end of the day so I can have that management report on my desk every single morning when I arrive. Or some of them say, hey, I want them working after hours so I can still do loan processing when someone lodges an online application at 10 p.m. It's approved before they wake up. So we have clients approach that as part of their workforce re-engineering. And that's probably going a step further and looking at how can we improve our value proposition to clients through increasing some of those service windows and distribution of tasks into different timing to excel and exceed expectations of clients and prospects. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. It's been great to be here. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, sir.